So you've probably accessed higher degrees of consciousness through your meditations or your mindfulness practices or your self-realization practices. And the root of that is to expand not only your own consciousness, but the consciousness of people around you. So I would implore you to share. Don't tell people too much, because you're not trying to scare people away, but give them access as things progress for you. So when you touch on energetic shifts and frequency and vibration through your practice, whether it be mantras or, whatever value you get from your meditations, because they're like a collection, right? You have experiences dimensionally and energetically, and it's very intense. So you can't tell people too much as to what you see or where you go or how deeply you've gone. But you can encourage people to expand their own consciousness, because that's really the only thing we're doing here. Everything is an expansion of consciousness. Technology, science, medicine, engineering, all of it is an expansion of consciousness. It's a thing that didn't exist that now exists because we're conscious of it. And when we observe it, it changes. And that's why art continues, because when you see a great piece of art, like say you're a painter and you discover Picasso for the first time and you see a new way of creating something that you've never thought about creating before, that is an expansion of consciousness. You were inspired by that consciousness, which leads to a new consciousness, which will continue leading to new consciousness. And that's with music, art, medicine, science, the whole thing. It just keeps going. Einstein's theory of relativity opened doors to different types of conscious pursuits that we had never thought about before. And so that is the beauty and the love and the caring and the kindness and the acceptance that goes into existing day to day, is giving that away to people. It's not about monetary gain, it's about consciousness. And there's no gaining of consciousness, there's just the realization of new types of consciousness, exploring things that were previously unknown, to encourage others to explore things that were previously unknown. So as you go through your meditations, you're probably going to get some urge to help others. And those people will just come out of the woodwork. They'll just appear. But they have to ask. You can't give. They have to ask. They have to show some curiosity towards the unknown that you have. And like I said, energetically, we're putting out frequencies all the time that draw people in. Our nervous system is just a giant antenna. It transmits and it receives. And as you progress with your practice on this journey, whatever it is, but I do know that it is an expansion of awareness and consciousness. And the deeper you go, the more people will arrive, and the more they arrive, the deeper you can go. So it's infinite. It doesn't stop. There's not going to be an end to what we can ascertain. The heart of consciousness is love and acceptance. Whatever you can think of, you can create, you can make. And creativity can be expressed in so many different ways. I mean, you could be an AI tech, you can be a game developer, you can be a painter, you can be a meditation instructor, a spiritual advisor, a psychologist, a scientist, on and on it goes. Whatever way you feel most drawn to to expand awareness on a bigger scale is where you should go. And it doesn't have anything to do with successfulness or what we pretend is successful. You know, a lot of people think that the more money you have, the more successful you are. That's not necessarily true. That can be a trap as well. Money is meant to come in and go out, and that's it. And I think that's why in this day and age we're having such a hard time with multi-billionaires and people encroaching trillionaire status, is because it's just a collection of things that should be just moving. It shouldn't be sitting stagnant somewhere. And that's not saying that guys like Elon Musk aren't putting it back into the system and making that money move in a way that is conducive to all people everywhere. What it's saying is that there are a lot of wealthy people that are hoarding and just trying to accumulate more of this imaginary understanding of what it is to be successful. So we can do that with consciousness. So think of consciousness as like a monetary thing. It's a form of currency. The more you give it, the more it comes. But you have to spend it wisely. You can't just squander it on candy and trinkets. You have to use it appropriately. So you can't just give it away to anybody. You can't go to the guy on the corner that is screaming at himself and tell him that he's consciousness and that everything that he's going through is just a perceived notion of what he thinks he is. You have to go to the source. You have to go to people that are coming to you willingly out of curiosity and life experience, their own experiences of consciousness. And I think if we do that, the more we do that, because it's going to happen anyway, nobody's going to stop it. Governments try to stop it. Corporations try to stop it. Industries try to stop it. But you're not going to stop it. You can't. It's meant to move. It cannot remain stagnant for very long. We've had stagnant periods. The 80s were fairly stagnant, but it also gave rise to some great art and some great music and some great understandings that were progressive. So like I said, you can't stop it. No matter how dim the times may be, you're not going to get rid of the furtherment of consciousness and creativity. And what I'm saying is give it out freely. Give out this information to people who need it. They will find you. You just got to be aware enough to realize that they're actually asking you for your opinion on that, because I have quite a few people that I talk to on a regular basis about stuff like this, and it moves. It really gets out there. You talk to one person who talks to another person. It's like that pay it forward philosophy. If you do a good deed for somebody and they want to repay you for that, just tell them to pay it forward and do a nice deed for somebody else and tell them to pay it forward. And on it goes. And that's what this consciousness is about. It's about hipping people to different ideas and perceptions that we have not previously been exposed to. Because I'm telling you, in meditation, the longer you do it and the more you do it, the more comes to you just out of thin air. It's like reverse osmosis, except the material thing that you're trying to learn is not material, and it's just everywhere in the air like prana. Life force. Everything is a mirror reflecting this consciousness. Movies like Star Wars, talking about the Force and Jedis, and even things like Mad Max or Castaway. These are all explorations of consciousness and what is possible. Because if you can think it, you can become it. You can create it. I mean, Jules Verne was talking about things in periods of time that those things weren't even capable. I mean, submarines and flying ships and things like that at that period of time was unimaginable because he was the one who had to imagine it. Leonardo da Vinci creating, these sketches, whether they worked or not, the idea behind them worked. Flying machines and just different pieces of machinery that could completely change the face of reality. Guys like Nikola Tesla tapping into parts of the universe that very few ever go, or they get glimpses and get scared and run away. Conquering your own fear is a really big deal. Once you get rid of your fear, or at least taming it in a way that is more conducive to your personal process or your personal meditations, is paramount in expansion of your own consciousness and giving it to other people and having these weird conversations. Because if you can believe it, you can make it happen. And it's just that simple. Everything we do is a manifestation of tomorrow. And tomorrow will only be this moment. Nothing is guaranteed. Everything is slippery. The entire universe is wiggling all the time. Everything's in motion constantly. Even a rock, you can look at a rock and think of it as stagnant, but it's vibrating so quickly that we don't notice it as moving. We notice it as still. And that's the stillness that you're looking for in your meditations. That you're moving so quickly that nobody can see it. So share your consciousness, share your awarenesses, share the things that that come up. Find your tribe, find your group. They're there, they're out there, they're everywhere. And as long as you're open to them, they'll be open to you. If you're authentic and you're vulnerable and you're accepting, the world is your oyster. And we can change all of this easily. Just stop playing the game. Because when you stop playing the game, you have to create a new one. As always, much love.